Okay, so my name is Richard O'Quinn. I retired out of the U.S. Army as a lieutenant colonel, and I started off after graduating from university working in the infantry. And my first duty station was in Panmunjom, Korea, on the demilitarized zone. And from there, I went to 1st Ranger Battalion in Savannah, Georgia, and from there to Army Special Forces, and a number of assignments after that. So when I think about tactical teams, I think about teams that are really at the action point where an organization expects, the work, the nitty-gritty work to be done, whatever that organization is. From my experience, it was military, but there are other people that have just as tactical experience in a number of other settings. So from my experience, what I found that make teams successful, high-performing teams successful, really boils down to three things. First is a shared understanding of what needs to be done or what needs to be accomplished. And I didn't have that language when I was in the Army. We had, we were programmed with sort of our own set of language, our own set of terms about things. So understanding the situation was how we described it: situational awareness, situational understanding. But it's more than just understanding the context of where you're at. It's more about understanding what needs to be done in that context and who needs to do what components of that action or that work. So it's a bit more sophisticated. And so that shared understanding really ends up being, if we're working together on a tactical team, what needs to be done, who can do that, who can do those activities, and how can we best go about executing those activities effectively, efficiently, safely, whatever the parameters that you need to be done are. So shared understanding is really the first thing that I think is important. The second thing I think is important, though, is trust. And if you're in an organization, particularly a small team, and you can't trust one another, you can't trust that everyone is going to be contributing in the way that you expect them to, that they're even going to be fronting up and paying attention to what's going on around them, and that they aren't going to be on the top of their game, then their doubt sets in a team. And that doubt can really inhibit the high performance. Because, if I'm expecting you to pull your weight in a certain situation, and I'm not confident that you're going to do that, then you're not a useful resource in the team. So that's the second thing, is really the trust that's got to be present. It's not only inside the team, though. It's got to be from the team external. So whatever support mechanisms that an organization has for that tactical team, whether that's a pay system, whether that's a health system, occupational health and safety sort of perspective, or whether that's just, a longer-term resourcing perspective that, we're going to do this work and we're going to get, the right amount of recognition for that, and I can trust that the people around me in my organization are going to take care of me and my team. So the trust works internally in that tactical team, but externally as well. And then I think the third thing that's important beyond the shared understanding and beyond the trust is that the truly best high-performing teams have a sense of distributed leadership. So, we're not looking towards one individual on the team to always know what to do or to tell everyone what to do. That through that shared understanding and that trust, we're confident that anyone can pick up the leadership role when they need to in that tactical situation and do what needs to be done and lead the way in doing that. And so there can be a shared leadership in that team at different times, in different situations, in different contexts, and that can shift, in the course of one operation even, not just over time. So I think those, for me, are the things that I learned that are the three most critical aspects of high-performing teams. So for me, when leaders are trying to ensure that plans are being executed efficiently and effectively, one of the critical things they've got to ensure is that going back to the trust and the distributed leadership, that the leader is willing to accept that people in their team are going to do the best that they can do, and that they're going to be able to accomplish as much as possible if they're resourced, if they're trusted, and they're given that opportunity to take the lead when they see it. So it's about resourcing. It's about ensuring that everybody in the organization knows what needs to be done. You know, in the Army, we had a thing called a commander's intent. And in operations, operations orders would flow down from higher. And we typically tried to nest our organizational goals based on a higher level intents of organizations, whether those are commanders of higher level organizations or a broader policy that was in place. So, but those things are hard to execute when the fog of war or things don't come, to play the way you want them to. Fog of war happens, things change, situations are dynamic, and unexpected things arise. So if a leader is able to give a team their intent of what needs to be accomplished, and maybe key tasks is another term that we used to throw in there, then regardless of the situation, regardless of what resources are available or how the context changes, that team can understand that intent and work towards that intent, even though they may not be able to follow the plan exactly to the letter. And that's most critical in an operation. Yeah, so I have a really vivid memory of a command sergeant major who I worked with several decades ago now, who said to me, we were watching this team not perform well, and we had some doubts as to why that was occurring. And he said to me, sir, you got to always remember, people don't wake up and say to themselves the first thing in the morning, what can I screw up today? Right? So you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. You got to know that they're probably working with the best of intentions. There may be a constraint or a limitation that they're facing that you can't see on your side of that equation in a leadership role. You may be, one seat away from them in a boardroom, or you may be on the other side of the globe from them. But if you just trust those people, and they've demonstrated over time that they have the capacity for you to trust them, and they have the capacity and the capability to perform well, then it's likely they're doing their best, and you've got to give them the benefit of the doubt. So absolutely, intent is important in ensuring that your team is doing the best they can to perform effectively and efficiently. So you can imagine in a complex, fluid, dynamic military situation that we were involved in the Army, there are a lot of variables that are coming to play, even minute by minute. There's a bit of a bias, or I guess a bit of a comfort level that some people have with technology, that we know everything that's going on, right? We can see it in maybe an overhead video feed from an objective, or we can hear the chatter on a radio, so we know all the detailed steps because they're telling us that they're going through the operation, as planned. But oftentimes, there are, well, in fact, all the time, there are hundreds of small, lower level, independent communications that are used to make up any operation. So as soon as you get two people in the equation, that's one set of communication lines. When you add to that, it just goes up exponentially. And so in particular, I can think of several bad situations where that didn't go well, but I can think of I can imagine one, or I can recall one where we had lost communications with one of our forward elements. So an element that was way beyond normal tactical interaction length. So on the far reaches of really our communications network. So that broke down. This individual that was out there was doing the best that he could given the situation. And we, this is from a technical perspective, this broke down. So we had to then rely upon our judgment of what that individual should be doing or would be doing if he were following the plan or if he were doing what we expected in that given situation. The effect of that, though, the reverberations of the doubt that comes in to the whole organization in that regard is pretty amazing, because people start second guessing, well, is he going to do it the way he said he did it? Or was planning to do it? Is he going to be able to do it the way he said he's able to do it? Is he still there? Have we lost him, sort of thing? So from a technical perspective, that's probably getting less and less normal. There are robust communication systems and several different ways to get a hold of people now in organizations that aren't in combat situations but are in tactical teams. But I think the principle of that is what's critical, is that understanding that I tried to talk about before, that encompasses everybody that's working on that problem set. If there's a break in that understanding, that's more critical than a break in the communications. Communications is just facilitating that understanding.